Hey guys, just a quick word before today's show begins. Last night, we recorded this episode from our mobile studio in the parking lot of Raymond James Stadium immediately following the game. Unfortunately, we had a little snafu with our recording equipment. Okay, I'll just be honest, I forgot to press record. So I had to pull the audio feed actually from a different source, and it doesn't sound as good as the show normally would. So my apologies for that, but I think I've got it cleaned up. I think you're going to be able to hear everything just fine, even though the quality isn't exactly where we would normally have it for the show. No worries, though. Final Thought show coming up. Buck and the News show coming up. We're back in our regular studio format. Everything should be back to golden for those shows and all our shows going forward. So without further ado, here's the show. Welcome to the InstantCast presented by the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen, your host, and here with me live in the seat right next to me in a rare broadcast live from the parking lot of Raymond James Stadium, my co-host Ren Daxt. Ren, hell of a game we just watched there, buddy.
Very entertaining game. Jameis was on fire. Offense looked good. Are you going to have that in my face the whole time?
Pretty much.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, I mean, you kept hearing all week that the Bucs are going to get blown out, the Bucs are going to get blown out, the Bucs are going to get blown out, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And from Brent and I's angle, we thought Patrick made that kick.
We did.
Yeah. Like, I actually, by the time when the Falcons went up 10 points, that's when the stadium started to clear out, about halfway through the fourth.
Which, by the way, is normal. All season long, about halfway in the fourth or the beginning of the fourth is when the stadium starts clearing out. Not after halftime.
No.
Not after Gruden finished giving a speech. You know where people went after Gruden finished giving a speech? To the bathroom. That's where they were going. But the stands were quite full.
I haven't been here as many games as you, but it was the most packed I've seen it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were talking about that. Usually in the middle of the West Club seats, which you can't ever see on TV because the cameras aren't pointed that way, is usually fairly empty. They're, of course, the most expensive seats in the entire stadium outside of suites. But, those are usually fairly empty. These were fairly full. Of course, a lot of the former players were sitting there and their families in this game. Mm-hmm. So that kind of accounts for it a little bit. But the rest of the stadium, really good turnout. I was really impressed by the number of Bucs fans that were there as opposed to the Atlanta fans. Now, a little hard to tell because our colors are kind of similar, but almost exactly similar. But just by judging from crowd response, Ren, if you had to give it a split, would you say 85-15?
I was going to say 80-20.
80-20? Yeah, I might go a little lighter on that, 85-15, maybe 90-10-ish, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. So, well, hey, listen, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody who is joining us live in the Mixlr chat room. You guys are awesome. That's mixlr.com/the PewterCast. We are broadcasting live there. We are also recording this. Tonight, we will not be taking any phone calls, Ren.
No, and it's not because we don't want to. It's just that we don't have the technology.
We don't. We
were not going to make the $6 million man.
No, we don't. We don't have the technological capability. I mean, I suppose I could do it, but it would require generators and Wi-Fi broadcast thing.
Let's try running Wi-Fi on the south parking lot right behind south end zone.
Yeah. So this is just going to be you and I talking tonight, but we will be keeping an eye on the people who are in the chat room. It's about 12:15 in the morning right now for us, and midday for Ren. It's getting on about bedtime for me. I might have passed out on the couch right about now, normally, or I'd be finishing editing an episode of the PewterCast.
That's true.
Yes.
And I would be like an episode half deep of whatever I'm watching on the stick.
Right. Ren would have just signed off and been like, all right, see you later. And I'd have been
good?
Yeah,
good?
I'm out.
Bye.
Yep. So I can do this and go to bed. But so shout out to all of you guys. Guys, we will be trying to keep an eye on what you guys are talking about in the chat room as much as we can and interacting with you there. One thing just to note, Ren, I've got to say this at the top of the show.
Okay.
Our friend Brian from Memphis.
Yes.
Who for weeks has been, I don't want to call him a Jameis hater.
No.
But he has not been on board the Jameis train.
Of all of our regular listeners and the people that are in the chat room, the most, he is the least on board with Jameis.
Yes.
As far as being the future.
He's been the most critical of Jameis.
Right.
For sure. And he himself said Jameis had a great game. Now, Ren, you and I heard Coach Cutter kind of the top of his press conference as we were walking out of the stadium. Coach Cutter even said that this might have been Jameis's best game of the season.
Right.
I don't know that he said his career, but definitely of the season.
Right.
Let's just start right there. Let's start at the top. Thoughts on Jameis's play tonight?
To be honest, I had no idea. It's such a different experience at the stadium than at home. You really don't get that many replays. You don't get to see or have the announcers tell you what a great game this person's having. You know, how many complete, like, oh, Jameis is like 18 for 20 for 237 yards and a QBR. I think his QBR ended up being like 130.
134.7 is what I saw on the screen.
Yeah,
I think out at the end of the game.
Yeah, so...
By the way, Matt Ryan's was like 86.
Right, but he won the game.
That has been the story of the season this year.
It has been. New way to lose. Miss a field goal at the end instead of during the middle of the game. Yeah, so, you know, what can you not say about Jameis? You know, I was one of the few people that I knew of, you know, if you follow social media or Buck's Twitter, that thought Jameis actually had good games the 2 weeks before. It was just that really dumb turnover. But tonight, he wasn't loose in the pocket. He moved away from pressure. One time when he was going down and he got rid of the ball, it wasn't into a crowd of people.
No, it was a big empty space.
It was a big empty space.
Yeah. Nobody was diving into that space to pick it off either.
Yeah, so I thought he played, obviously, if you look at the stats, I thought he played well. I didn't think he played as well as the stats showed. But that's, once again, that's being in the stadium. I also didn't realize that Deshaun Jackson and O.J. Howard were out until about halfway through the third quarter. I think they both went out on O.J.'s touchdown catch. So
did O.J. come back in at all after that touchdown catch? Because we saw him limping off the entire way across the field.
Right. And then the only reason I know that Deshaun Jackson was even hurt because after that touchdown, I went to use the restroom real quick, and there's closed caption TV in there, two of them, by the way, and I saw Deshaun Jackson on the table, like on the trainer's table, and they were messing with his ankle, and he did not look like he was in comfort. He looked like he was hurt, and then, you know, I just sort of stored that away in the back of my mind, and then I looked down, I'm like, okay, well, you got Godwin, and you got Hump, and you got Mike Evans, and I'm like, I haven't seen, like, they haven't thrown the ball to Deshaun Jackson in a while.
Right.
And then I'm thinking, well, probably because he hasn't been in a while.
It's probably true. I didn't even notice. I'm just going play by play, and I think, like you, a lot of it you just kind of look up and go, I haven't seen this guy in a while. I wonder where he's been. So Ken in the chat room says that Jameis looked poised. You got the feeling that he was going to put us in position to tie it up within a minute left. You could argue he did.
Well, he did. He did put us in position.
I mean, what was it, a 57-yard field goal there at the end?
I measured it, like, once again, we don't get to hear on TV. I measured it at 54.
54, that's right.
I measured
Levante
54.
David. It was a Levante David.
It was a Levante David, yeah.
But 54 yards, well within Patrick Murray's range.
Yeah.
Well within his range. So, you know, that sucks. We'll get to that here in a little bit.
We haven't seen any replay. Like, we don't know how close it was. Like, we don't know anything. Because to both of us, like, you know, I walked down the aisle because people had gone. And I was like, boom. Like, I, like, did the old Tiger Woods, you know, fist pump. Yeah, here we go. Here comes overtime. And then I started hearing people go, oh, and then I spun around and looked down to the goalposts, and the rest were waving their arms. It was no good. And
Big C in the Big Hero C. I want to get to what you just said in the chat room a little bit later. So bring that up to me here in about 10, 15 minutes, what you just said there. But sorry, Ren, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's not.
So something they're starting to talk about in the chat room, they're talking about some of the various things that did well, didn't do well. Some people are talking about Peyton having a good game. Before we get to Peyton, let's go to Doug Martin. We get word that he is inactive heading into the game.
Holy cow.
Similar feels of the Saints game from last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just mysteriously one day he's inactive. And, we find out, maybe an hour later that it was due to a team rules violation, something that happened in a meeting.
Which may or may not be true.
May or may not be true. The report is that it's a very minor violation. It was major enough to get him suspended for a game by the team, but minor enough that he's supposed to be back the next 2 games.
Yeah. I feel this is a lot of the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
If we inactivate Martin... And all of it may be true, but I have this feeling where if we inactivate Martin, then it's going to be a big talking point. I'm sure, we didn't see the press conference.
Mm-hmm.
The first question was how Jameis did, and then we were sort of out of the building, out of the stadium. So I can bet somewhere, if not tonight, definitely tomorrow, the Doug Martin narrative.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So what Ren's talking about there, a reference I put on my own personal Twitter account. This did not come out on the PewterCast. It's my own personal Twitter account. I said I feel like Bucks podcast, the buzzword has been narratives because it's been used a lot. We certainly have had our fair share of saying the word narrative, but I don't know. It's just something I've noticed here over the course of the season. That's a word we're saying a whole lot. So Ren's making fun of me for that. But anyway.
Yeah. Narrative. So
we'll find out the Doug Martin narrative tomorrow.
I think it's going to run throughout the week,
Sure.
which what I was thinking would bury the sort of riff that has been dominating sort of the press conferences at $1 between Jameis and Dirk. Now, I've gone on record saying I think it's nothing. I really don't think it's news. Todd Monken came out and said it.
Yeah.
So
you did a good job covering that on the Buck in the News show this week. By the way.
Yeah. It was fun. It was like doing a podcast without Mark Cook. No one there to interrupt me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just kidding. So that was sort of my feeling when I first saw it, because I said it on the Buck in the News, you need to. It's going to be Jacquizz Rodgers who's inactive, because if you inactivate Doug Martin, you're going to get this shitstorm of questions that the Bucs really don't need right now. But they did it anyway. But the plus side is, once again, that is going to rule the week.
Yeah.
It is. It's going to rule the week of Doug Martin. Now the questions are, was it a mistake to bring him back? Is this mean it's his last game? I mean, he's going to be making I think $6.5-7 million next year.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think everyone believes, as I do, I'm not sure about you, but I do, he won't be back with us.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I said last week in the main show that I'm done with Doug, personally. I think...
personally? No more... He's not coming over for dinner anymore?
Yeah, he lost his invite to Christmas.
He's uninvited?
Uninvited. No, if Doug, if you're listening to this, dude, I've got all the love in the world for you. You can come to Christmas at my house. I don't necessarily think you can be playing for my team next year, though. Though... That's not necessarily our position. We got somebody who's rolling up to the window, joining us here.
Are you guys doing a radio show?
We are doing. This is the PewterCast InstantCast show, live right now.
Perfect. We're live.
Are you guys doing a fantasy football segment at all, or no?
No.
This is more just initial thoughts on the game and
what's your name
and all that.
My name's Tom Buczynski.
Tom Buczynski. Tom, are you from here in Tampa?
I am.
Awesome. You season ticket holder, or is this just kind of a one-off game that you're coming to?
Season ticket holders for 10 years, guys.
Wow. Dude, thanks for being a Bucs fan, man. Yeah. That's a hard 10 years.
It is. You know what, though? I tell you what, though, I think they had a really good team this year, though. You could see the way they played this year, right? And I tell you what, there are a few games, if you look at New England and if you look at Buffalo, I think, confidence, momentum, I think that makes a big difference. But I tell you what, if we had won those games and... gone into the season, that second half of the season, I think there was been a chance. I think there's reason for optimism. I think if you look back at the years, back in the sombrero and even before then, I think we got a good opportunity to do well over the next couple of years.
I'm with you. I think the talent's on the squad. I think they had some bad luck this year with the hurricane, having no bye week. We've had some injuries. Every team has injuries, but not every team gets their quarterback's throwing shoulder hurt.
Right.
That's once you lose your starting QB, that's a big deal. So, we're still got 2 games left. We haven't sort of gotten to the hope and optimism part of talking about next year yet. But I'm with you, and it's nice to hear, because most of the interaction we have is on Twitter, and Twitter can be very negative. So it's nice to hear somebody who's here, every Sunday and has been here every Sunday for 10 years that still has hope. So we've been talking mostly about Jameis Winston. That's all we've really gotten.
Sure.
How did you think he played tonight?
I think he played great today. Yeah, and I think a healthy Jameis Winston, I think, is the key, right?
Yeah.
I think, take a look at the young quarterbacks in the league, right? You look at Jared Goff, right? You look at Carson Wentz, right? You look at their development, right? It always points back to a good offensive coordinator, and I think you look at Dirk Cutter, right? Before he became the head coach, I think. I think maybe he pulled a little bit right out of maybe that momentum, right, because then all of a sudden you got a little bit more responsibility as head coach. But I think when you look at Winston compared to some of the relative quarterbacks, I think there's an opportunity for there to improve. But he's got to be a little bit better from a mistake standpoint, less prone. But I think
a little less loose with the ball in the pocket.
I think so too, though. But I tell you what, the offensive line thing was a little disappointing this year too.
Very disappointing, especially in the
Yeah, and I think you know what, Doug Martin. I think if you look at all the challenges that he had, and I think we're all optimistic as coachings and fans and all that. Mm-hmm. But I think that he underwhelmed a little bit, right, relative to kind of the years.
A little bit. Come on now.
Yeah.
He underwhelmed a lot. Doug Martin was a big disappointment this year. As with the offensive line is blocking, as with the defensive line with pressure.
Yeah, maybe instead of trading for a kicker a couple years ago, maybe we should have gone for Dalvin Cook last year, right? Maybe traded up.
I'm a Gator fan, so
that's not allowed, right?
Well, no, it's allowed, but
we talk about that.
This is the question.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
You have to take someone off the team now that we drafted last year to get Dalvin Cook. So who would you have taken? Like, who would you take off last year's draft to get Dalvin Cook? You'd have to take off like Chris Godwin. Or you would have to take off.
You'd either have to take off 2 later guys or 1 earlier guy. Yeah.
Like, those are guys you'd have to take off to get Dalvin Cook. Will you be willing to give that up if they're only seeing 3 games of Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, it's a fair question. You look at Noah Spence, right, and you wonder. Look at the guy Leonard over in Georgia, right? I mean, gosh, I mean, you get that edge rusher on the defensive side. What a difference that makes, right? Fair question. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I think that. He's a dynamic playmaker, though, right? And you look at guys like Warren Dunn and Allstott, historically, right? Mm-hmm. What they were able to do offensively, and then you pair them up with the offense that we had. O.J. Howard was our first-round draft pick. What I would have done is I would have traded up and maybe not taken Noah Spence, maybe gone up and got Dalvin Cook. What do you go, second round?
Noah Spence was the year before.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, Justin Evans was our guy this year. So that would be you'd have to trade up. In order to make that one happen, you probably would have had to give up that second-round pick that we used to get Justin Evans and spend it on Dalvin Cook and probably give up a later-round pick. Maybe that 5th-round pick we used to get McNichols.
Probably the third.
And maybe even the 3rd round, yeah.
So you're trading. Yeah. So basically, I understand what you're saying, but if you start to think about it, what you're doing is you're trading Justin Evans and Chris Godwin for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, you're right.
Still a good idea?
Maybe not.
Yeah, it's one of those, and it's what we actually talk about on the show quite often. The hindsight part of it's 2020, but when you go back,
I think he's leaving, he's dipping.
Yeah, hey Tom, here's some of the information. Check us out, subscribe to us. We're on iTunes, Podbean, Podcast Addict.
All the time.
Yeah. Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
look at you.
That's Brent.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I didn't think about it. I didn't realize that you guys were here. I figured you guys were here watching my fantasy football when my reign into the championship.
But congratulations! That's exactly what we were doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Tom, hey, listen, man, thanks for stopping by, and it's really glad to meet you. And hey, listen, you are now officially on the PewterCast.
Love it. Keep it up, guys. I will.
Thanks, man.
Guys.
Do it. Thanks, Tom. I wonder if that's the Tom that has been emailing us the last couple of weeks.
I don't know. If I think when I just said email us, he would have said I do.
Oh, yeah, he might have been. You're right. You're right about that. That's kind of fun. Getting just kind of there are these people who are having like an after the game tailgate right in front of us, and he just kind of looked over and walked over.
That do that.
Quite a few, yeah, quite a few. All right, so with all of that,
Peyton Barber.
We were talking about Peyton Barber. I think we just kind of finished up the whole Doug Martin thing. Look, here's the deal. what I would have liked to see going into this game is, I agree with you, don't inactivate Doug Martin, just don't play him that much this game, and let's roll with Peyton Barber.
Right.
That's what I wanted to see happen. I don't know if that was the game plan for Dirk going into this game or not. However, with Doug Martin inactive, we will supposedly, at this point, see him back for the last 2 games, unless he does something different,
Right.
So, and what that makes me think is that they'll probably return to Doug Martin as the starting running back. Now, this is me projecting what I think they will do, not what I think they should do.
Okay.
I think they probably, just knowing Dirk and kind of how he works and kind of thinking in his mindset, I think that's exactly what that means, is that the...
You think Doug Martin's going to start next week?
If I was a betting man, I'd put $5 on Doug Martin to start next week.
I'll take that bet.
All right, $5.
I think Doug Martin has used up all his goodwill that has ever been left in Tampa Bay. First, they gave him a big contract. Then he leaves him high and dry at the end of last season. Now, when they brought him back and didn't cut his contract, didn't take his money away, let him play for that contract, he underwhelmed, and then he screwed up, quote unquote. We don't know. I still feel it's kind of like, like I said, tail wagging the dog issue. But if it is true, then he got suspended. He did something wrong enough to get suspended or get inactive for a game.
All right. Well, let me put it this way.
I think Dirk Cutter is done with Doug Martin.
If Doug is active next week,
Okay.
I think they will start him, and this might just be where it's totally a prediction. I'm not saying that I think that. In fact, I think they shouldn't. I think they should roll with Peyton Barber.
I don't think Peyton Barber had an outstanding game.
I don't think he had a bad game though.
Well, no, but the difference is because we're used to seeing like a 5-yard gain, then a 3-yard loss, a 7-yard gain, then a 1-yard gain, then a 2-yard loss. Peyton Barber doesn't have those losses. If you look at his stats, I don't think they were really that good. I mean, I think he had it was less than 70 yards, but he had the ball less than 20 times. But there were some very nice runs. He does get a lot of yards after contact. And I think with Dirk Cutter's offense, that's all you need. We had Mark Cook on. He sort of misunderstood my question. And that was sort of what I was asking him was, do you think with, all the weapons that we have on the edges of this offense, all you need a guy is that just doesn't lose yardage.
Right.
Like 2 yards, 2nd and 8 is way better than 2nd and 13. And with Peyton Barber, it seems that 2nd and 5 is sort of the norm, and then he'll maybe fall forward a little extra, and next thing you know, now it's 2nd and 3 because he'll get 7 yards instead of 5. But with Doug Martin, he'll run to the edge and he doesn't see a hole. He'll put his foot in the ground, and the defensive end comes crashing down, and now it's 2nd and 13.
Right.
And we're talking about, the offensive line doesn't open holes for him. Well, that's true. But the same play with Peyton Barber, it's going to be 2nd and 7, not 2nd and 13. And that may just be enough. We might not have to go out and get a running back in the first 3 rounds.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
Just don't lose me yardage.
Yeah, I do think, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I do think that the running back position is becoming a high enough spot that if best player available meets the right position, like team need in the draft, we could see a running back drafted. I'm not saying that it's our most pressing need by any stretch of the imagination. If the absolute best player available was a stud running back in the first round, and there's
a lot of them coming,
and there's a lot of them. But see, that's the thing. That with so many coming up, you can pick up a good running back in the later rounds.
In the 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah. So, I just don't anticipate to see that. People in the chat room, though, Ren, just so you know, are agreeing with you.
Of course
and here's the thing. One person says, Crazy 8 says, come on, Brent, really? Listen, I hope you guys are right. I 100% agree with Ren's assessment. 2nd and 7 or 8 is so much more manageable. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you do it again, then it's like 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 4.
Oh yeah.
It's just.
Listen, what was the Bucs?
Peyton Barber in the backfield, this offense has looked so much smoother.
And now, you know what? Other players are playing better.
And it can be before I get to that, it can be because Jameis came back, and his shoulder looks a lot better. A lot more mustard on the ball. He's putting it in there.
Sure.
There was one time tonight he threw to Cameron Brate. Was it Cameron? His first pass, I think, to Chris Godwin. I'm like, he just threw it in a quadruple coverage.
Right.
Dropped it over the linebacker, and the safety and the corner were hanging on him, and he caught the ball.
And if he had not caught the ball, that would have been a bad decision. Everybody been like, oh, Jameis makes bad decisions. But he zinged it in there and he got it.
Well, you could still argue it was a bad decision. But yeah, it moved the chains, and at the time we needed it. So, but it was overall, it really was a good game, I think, by the Bucs offense, and also for their defense. I mean,
I don't know that I'd say it was a good game.
They had some trouble, but this is the difference between this week and all the other weeks. When the Bucs defense had to stand up and get a stop, they did. And the Bucs got the ball back, and Jameis drove them down and got them in position to tie the game to go into overtime. Most of the time, Atlanta just runs the clock out and the game's over.
Right.
Every team's going to give up yards and points. Every team is.
I got to tell you, I was a little bit surprised that the defense came up with the stop there at the end of the game.
Oh, everybody was.
I was a lot surprised.
I was, yeah.
I didn't think I thought Matt Ryan come in. There's 4 minutes left on the clock. They'll run this out. The game's over.
Atlanta came in and we're going to run the ball down your throats, and for most part they did.
Yeah.
For most part they did. There was big holes. Yeah. They knew that Bucs were weak in the middle without McCoy and David, and they exploited it. But when push came to shove, the defense came through and got us the ball back.
Very true. Since we're talking about defense now, let's stay with defense for a while. So obviously we were out without McCoy tonight, without Levante David. I don't know why I'm picking on this year. I don't know why it's so important to me.
The stadium announcer?
No. The green dot. Quan Alexander had the green dot again this week.
I don't know why either.
I think it's just pure curiosity. I want to know what the thought process is.
But it's very negative for some of the players, so I'm not prepared to go there yet.
You don't want to put it out on the airwaves?
I don't. I really don't.
Okay.
Because it's not nice, actually.
Yeah. So with that said, let's talk about a player we have not talked about yet, though. So you get past the line, you get past the linebackers. There was one safety tonight that I thought stood out, and some people kind of poo-pooed it a lot. And it's a guy that we assigned a bus ticket on the way out of town last year.
He had a very good game.
I think Chris Conte had a very good game.
I saw a stat line walking out. He was second in the team in tackles. Quan had something like 13 in all, none assists. Conte had 4 with 2 pass breakups and a forced fumble.
Quan Alexander had 13 tackles on the night, just so you know. I'm reading the big board right now.
They still haven't turned the lights off in the stadium.
Right. They've still got the boards running. That's a lot of juice they're running right now. Anyway,
What is their power bill?
They own the power company. Let's hear. Conti's getting extra time in the ice bath tonight. Yeah, he probably is.
Yeah. He stuck his nose in there a lot.
He did. And Big Hero C said that he was a speed bump for Devontae Freeman all night.
Not all night. TJ Ward played that role once or twice.
TJ Ward did.
So he got hurt. Dude, what a disappointment that guy's been, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen, we could talk about our free agents, and we'll do this, I think, more as the offseason gets going. But when we look at Deshaun Jackson and Chris Baker and TJ Ward, and we put them up against another free agent that I think has kind of popped on my radar a little bit more, which is Will Clark. Now, Will Clark has not been a super flashy guy.
No.
He's not a big name. No. He's none of that kind of stuff. But I tell you what,
He's lucky to have a job.
At least once or twice, I've seen his name get up on the big board.
Yeah,
for making a play.
He will. He will get a tackle for loss. There was a game a couple of weeks ago where he got 2 sacks in one game. One of the very few games where I think it was a Jets game where the Bucs actually had more than 1 sack in that game.
You mean one of the very few games where the Bucs had a sack?
Exactly.
In the game.
Exactly. One of those very few games. And back to when we had to have it. The defense stepped up and got a sack on 3rd down. Clinton McDonald, way to go! Glad he was there.
Ren, they're saying right now in the chat room, shame on you for expecting too much out of TJ Ward.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Name me one person at Buck fandom that wasn't ecstatic about the TJ Ward sign.
Listen, even right now, you put TJ. What's JJ Wilcox doing right now?
Where'd he go?
Dallas?
No, he
came from Dallas.
Where did he go?
Probably the Patriots.
No.
No, we tried. Wait a minute.
Where did he go?
I don't know.
Pittsburgh. He went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He went to. I don't know. I didn't see him. I just watched that Pittsburgh game.
Yeah.
I didn't hear.
I mean,
name.
we thought that T.J. Ward was a huge upgrade over J.J. Wilcox,
and he may be.
But he may be right. It's the safety play did not get bolstered this year outside of Justin Evans. Justin Evans came in
I think
was
the safety play is better this year from what you had last year. I mean, we had a that's gonna be a long argument actually. I think it's more consistent this year. When Justin Evans got in there, and Conti, but I can see, yeah.
But we were certainly expecting that the big safety on the team this year was going to be T.J. Ward, and it's not.
No,
when we go back to camp and we saw all that, we said, "Hey, T.J. Ward's going to come in. He's going to be the big dog on campus.
He's going to take over the defensive backfield, be the captain, put everybody in the right spot."
Right. Justin Evans is going to get to learn from this guy as a veteran. Yeah. Conti's going to hold it down for half the game, and maybe he'll split time with Tandy and some of these other guys.
Week 7, week 8, Justin Evans started to get some playing time. That was the narrative.
That was the narrative.
But it didn't work out.
Yeah. But anyway, with all that, so the defense, big struggle with defense this week, Ren. Third down.
Yeah.
News break story. No one's ever talked about this before. Defense couldn't get off the field on third down today.
I wonder what the percentage was, because the Falcons had the best percentage of converting for third downs, and the Bucs defense was the worst at preventing them.
Well, we talked about this in the game. We saw their punter 4 times.
Yes.
And I don't know how many series the offense had. Probably was at least 8.
Probably more.
Yeah.
We saw them the first time they had the ball, and the last time they had the ball in the first half.
Right.
And then a couple more times in the second.
Right. Well, then the very last time they had the ball in the second, and then
2 more times.
And then, yeah.
4 times they got it.
So, but yeah, defense really struggled with that. So, yeah, it just, listen, here's what I'll tell you, though. At the end of this whole thing, what the Falcons did not do to us is what they did last time to us on primetime, which I believe was a Thursday night game as opposed to Monday night.
Julio who?
Exactly.
We got that guy's number.
Right. I don't know what Julio's numbers were tonight, but he didn't run roughshod over us tonight.
No, not at all.
And, by the way, I don't believe that they were flipping Grimes back and forth on him.
No.
It looked more like they had McLean tagging him wherever they went, lining up in the nickel.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you because I really don't, I wasn't really paying attention to that. I paid attention like the first play, like where's Julio, where's Grimes, and they weren't on each other. And I was like, okay, I guess they're not going to do that. And then I just started, started watching the game.
Right.
But,
because when you're live, you're watching the ball.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I do that on TV too.
I do too, yeah.
But, the reason we lost this game was not Julio Jones, that's for sure. So, a little feather in the cap to Mike Smith and his defensive staff for figuring out a way to not let Julio get 200 yards on us. Can you actually congratulate somebody for that?
For doing what they should have done the first time?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, gold star, you're 50% for the year.
Gold star for not screwing it up again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, defense, I don't know. Defense just was not particularly great tonight. Offense, I thought, did pretty good. Now, listen, the offense, Ren, we've been saying this or at least I have been saying this since the preseason. They move the ball up and down the field. They can't put the ball in the end zone.
Right.
That only happened once tonight. That I can remember. Once that really stood out. They got into the red zone.
Yeah,
Peyton Barber fumbled. I tweeted it out. I said we marched 120 yards to go 90
because of
all the penalties. And we coughed it. We went from the 8-yard line to the other 8-yard line and coughed it up. And I just hashtag that's my Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. However, the rest of the night, I mean, Jameis threw it in there. Mike Evans fought for the ball. Finally, good to see him getting scrappy a little bit.
I don't think he even knows how to run after the catch. I mean, he's like a newborn deer. It's like
a giraffe.
Like he was trying to get out of bounds at one time, and then The other time where he caught the ball and he realized that he wasn't getting hit, so he just sort of ran around the guy, then dove on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't. It's instinctual in his head to when he catches the ball to get down and protect himself, and he's having real problems trying to get out of that, like struggling to get out of that. Mm-hmm. I think at actually one point during the night where he caught one and it was on the sideline. And he sort of ran out of bounds, I think, and he sort of slammed the ball in his hand. I was like, darn it, you know how running backs, and they get tripped up. And they're like, oh, I almost broke it. I think, to me, and, 100% speculation, was that he was thinking to himself, like, I could have turned that up and got a couple more yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's really struggling. And it's not that he doesn't want to or he can't. It's just ingrained in him that, catch the ball and get down. That first pass to him, I turned over and looked at you and I think he was on his way down before he even caught the ball.
Right.
He was. And then they showed a replay later in the game. The first pass that was complete, not the one where they, one of the 2 times they called pass interference on Mike Evans. But the first one down on our own, and I think it was the drive where we fumbled.
Right.
It was that first play from our own 8. It was sort of a slant, and Mike Evans kicked his feet out and caught the ball and was on it. He wasn't diving, like he was actually on the way down to the ground before he even caught the ball.
And, here's the thing with Mike Evans, though. He doesn't catch the ball in stride. He goes to his route, he goes wherever, he stops, turns around, catches the ball, and it's hard to turn around and start running. I mean, at that point, the defender is on you and stopping you.
Well, that first catch he could have.
I know he could have.
But that was it. I know he doesn't normally. Right. He runs a lot of outs, a lot of sidelines, a lot of digs. I get that. But that first one that he caught, it was a perfect one where he could have just kept running. But he had no interest whatsoever. And then it just seems like that's right. I'm trying to actually get yardage after I catch it.
Right. But all that said, I do want to give Mike Evans big props and big ups for coming down with that ball in the end zone tonight.
Good.
That was a huge score.
Great catch in traffic.
Yeah.
Jameis throws a deep ball for a touchdown.
Right. How many yards was that play, I wonder?
42.
42? Mm-hmm. Was it? I saw tonight Mike Evans, they posted this up on the big screen, the fastest runners of the night. Mike Evans led the Buccaneers with 19.2 miles per hour. Followed by Adam Humphries at 17 miles an hour. Followed by Deshaun Jackson at 16.9 miles per hour, which I thought he was supposed to be our speedy guy, but that's what they clocked him at. And then followed up him with Cam Brate or something. And then the fifth one, oddly, was Adam Humphries again. So those are the top 5 speedy guys on the team tonight.
2 of the top 5 spots.
Yeah. So, 12 games this season, I've never seen them do that before, but I thought that was, that was
Oh, you mean that graphic up there?
Yeah, the graphic they put up there.
I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah. All right, well, I've got one more thing to talk about before we close out the show tonight. Our tight end situation.
Are we going to take any calls tonight?
No calls tonight, unfortunately.
Just
sorry,
random
guys.
People from the parking
Just
lot.
random people from the parking lot and whatever lines we can get out of the chat room.
Before we go on, I want to shout out to Brandon from San Diego, who I met at the What the Buck tailgate. I was talking to Pinnacle, Robert Green. Most Buck fans, probably everybody in the chat room know who he is and probably sees him on Twitter. I'd had a little bit of interaction with him before, and I've met him before, and we were talking, and this guy comes out of nowhere and just sort of introduces himself. He's like, hey, how you guys doing, blah, blah, blah. He starts talking, and about 10 minutes into the conversation, he goes, do you do a podcast? Your voice is really familiar. So it was the first time it ever was recognized outside of, I guess, my house, that, met somebody that listened to him, and then we had another one with...
Hey, we're going worldwide.
With Dalvin Cook's buddy.
Yeah.
Over here.
Tom?
Knocked on the window, Tom. Yeah.
Shout out, Tom. What's up, buddy?
I am terrible.
I'm still looking at you right now. I think that's you. Anyway.
So, I want to say Brandon from San Diego who flew down here just to watch the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
He also went to the Arizona game.
Even at 4-9, now 4-10, where the Bucks sit, we got people still flying out. Bucks fans traveling well this year.
Yeah. I don't know if it's abnormal or how many people travel or not. To be honest, this is sort of my first time actually getting out there and trying to meet people from other places. Or I guess this is my first season fully involved in Buccaneers social media.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like last year,
I'd say that's true for both of us. Well, this is my second season, but
Right.
yeah, I'd say that's true. It happens when you get into this position that we're in now, Ren. All right, let's wrap this up, though. I want to talk real quick about the tight ends that we had, O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. I got to tell you.
Bye, Tom. He's waving at us.
Bye, Tom. Cameron Brate is looking a lot more beat up, I think.
Yeah, he's having a rough year.
Yeah.
But Jameis squeezes the ball into him, and he takes hits, man. I said that to you.
Now, by rough year, though, hold on. By rough year, you don't necessarily mean a rough year like he's just not playing up to scratch. You mean rough year of he's just taking a lot of really hard hits.
Both.
You think both? Okay.
But mostly, I mean, he's taken a lot of hard hits. I felt he's dropped a few more balls than we would think as Buck fans if you watch the first few years, that because he didn't drop anything. That was the big hook. He's like, well, he's not the fastest, not enough athletic, but get in the zip code and he'll catch it.
Right.
He sort of dropped off a little bit this year, but mostly, I mean, he is getting tattooed a lot of plays. But, Jameis trusts him and he sticks it in there, and 9 times out of 10 he catches it. So,
yeah.
He had a good game. He really did.
So some people are saying that Cameron Brate is going to take a back seat to O.J. Howard next year. O.J. Howard came up with a big touchdown. Might have been a little controversial, except for Dan Quinn used both of his challenges really early in the game.
No, our scoring plays are challenged.
Are reviewed anyway, right?
Yeah, that was
right. But good. I mean, good on O.J. Sorry that he got up injured after that and probably didn't come back. But what are your thoughts on our tight end play tonight and just kind of over the season as a whole?
I think it's been solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that Buck fans and myself sort of thought we would see the second coming of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. The Patriots, when they're, were winning Super Bowls in back-to-back years, just rolling everybody. And expecting that. And we didn't get it. But now as the season goes on, and in the second half of the season, you got to remember, O.J. Howard's a rookie, and there's a lot on his plate. You can really see how they're using him. And, yeah, I have no complaints about the tight ends whatsoever. Did I think at the beginning of the year that we were going to see these mismatches against linebackers and safeties, and we were just going to blow everybody out? We're going to score 32 points every game. Yeah, I did. We all drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We did. What I say, they're going to go 11-5.
We both said 11-5 in our way too early
and way wrong predictions. So, I mean, you get it, but Tom
listen, Vegas was even wrong.
The future is bright. Yeah, Vegas.
Vegas said 8-8, and we all laughed at them and you don't know what we know.
If I had $1 million, I'd take that bet right now.
Right.
And now,
turns out we're 4-10 on the season. So, So, all right. Well, with that, Ren, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Unless you got anything else you want to jump into here for the InstantCast.
No, I'm anxious to get home. I've packed, but I have to double.
Oh, that's right. You're getting on the road in the morning, aren't you?
Well, getting on the road as in
a couple hours.
Sitting in an airplane.
Yeah.
I'm getting on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to North Carolina. I'll be there through Christmas. The laptop is packed, as is the headphones, and
there you go.
And the 200-foot Ethernet cable. Because where I'm staying, I don't know where the router is going to be and where I'm allowed to be. So next time you hear from me, I'll be all in long johns and big thick woolly socks and maybe a skull cap doing Buccaneers podcast. So.
Yeah, and guys, definitely stay tuned. Our schedule this week might be a little thrown off just with it being the Christmas holiday and having a Monday night game tonight. Typically we would record the main show tomorrow night.
Brent's still going to drive 3 hours.
I've still got to drive 3 hours tonight. It may turn into a 5 or 6 hour trip. I may stop and sleep on the way. I'm not really sure.
Stop and sleep on the way. Sleep while you're driving.
Hey, listen, we get those automatic driving cars. I'll do it.
The Crosstown was supposed to be closed today, I heard, because they were doing another one of those tests. Automatic car tests.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool.
They've been doing
All
it
right.
down here.
All right, guys. Well, with that, make sure you catch up with us on the podcast. Subscribe, iTunes, Podcast Addict, Podbean, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, Jabbercast, or your favorite podcasting app. We will be there coming soon to Spotify. Ren, I know I've said that for a few weeks, but they're just getting the Wither 2s and Y4s all situated.
Well, they better get
We'll
their
soon
crap
be up there.
together because the season's almost over.
Right. But
Spotify.
we'll still be going, though.
I know.
Not quite with the frequency, though.
No?
No.
I've been thinking
4 times a week?
I've been thinking about going solo and doing it like 2 times a day, 5 days a week.
Well, if you want to do that, I'll guest once every 2 weeks.
For
but
3.5 hours.
But guys, listen, you can follow us on Twitter at the PewterCast or Facebook.com/PewterCast. Send us your emails, thoughts on the game. We would love to be able to get to those and
Tom,
read those.
Brandon.
Tom, Brandon, Chef. I see Chef just popped into the chat room. All you guys listening to us in the chat room, it's good crew tonight. Good of you guys to be in here. Bucks Princess, hi Nikki. Pewter crew is in there. So listen, you guys, shoot us your emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Your thoughts on the game, or really anything else having to do with the Bucks. We would love to be able to read those. iTunes reviews, those are always helpful. 5 stars are the most helpful, but we'll read whatever you give us.
We will.
You can follow me at Brent Allen Live if you want to follow me personally. Ren, where can people find you out there, buddy?
Best way is always to find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us tonight.
That cheesy? That sounded cheesy. Should I do that again?
No, I don't edit.
Always down to talk Buccaneers football. Hey, folks. It's Greg Allman here.
All right, we're done. Guys, catch with us. Hey, listen, they're pulling in the trucks to get all this Monday Night Football equipment out of here. I think they're going to shoo us out of the parking lot here, so we'll better go. So, guys, until next time, we'll close this out saying, as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.